So let's welcome Mary Catherine Johnson.
Howdy, everybody. Howdy. Okay, thank you. We're in Nashville, so let me try that again. Howdy, everybody. Howdy. Yes. Now I feel welcome. Thank you. All right. So yes, one conversation away. My whole goal today is to show you and hopefully have you embrace the idea that you are actually only one conversation away from a leap forward in your life and your business. Okay? Can I do that? Yeah. Would that help? Yes. Okay. This is conversational marketing. I didn't understand that people didn't know what conversational marketing was until I started talking about it like it's just normal. It's just what it is. And everybody's like, what is that? Like conversations. Anyway, there are two types of conversations. And just to start there. The first type of conversation we've heard a lot about in this room from amazing people, Matt and Sean for one, or for two. That conversation is your personal conversation that you have with yourself. That's what they talked about. You need to work on that conversation, right? The imposter syndrome, all those things. I'm not going to at all try and give you amazing brilliance on that. It's already been given. I am going to add one thing. If you can beat back that imposter that whispers in your ear, and you can beat that imposter back by saying, nope, you are a liar. You are telling absolute untruths. You have to beat that imposter back with the fact that they're lying to us. Okay? So that's the first conversation, the conversation you have with yourself. The second conversation is what I'm going to talk about today, but it depends on that first conversation. Because if you don't set that foundation for how you talk to yourself, how can you talk to your customers effectively? All right. So the second conversation is the business conversation that we have with prospects, audience, customers, all of them. And I'm talking all the way through to customer conversations where we get them to become ambassadors. The conversation doesn't stop with a sale. We got to get them to become ambassadors and referrals, right? We've, again, learned all these amazing things. So why do I say you need to start with the first conversation, the personal one? The number one statement I remember my mother saying, I don't know whether it's every day, I don't know how often, but it is an absolute statement in my head. She would say, you can do anything you want in life, my love. As a young child, anything? Anything? That's the universe. How can I conceptualize anything? I have no clue what anything means. I could not grasp. I can do anything, especially as a child, right? The first example I got of anything being fulfilled was from my mother. You see, I also couldn't grasp anything because really I was just in survival mode as a child. My mother got pregnant for me at 14 years old. She married my alcoholic, abusive father and had me at 15 years old. And obviously left school at ninth grade. So here I am, survival mode, anything, no clue what that means. And I witnessed my first example of anything. I'm in seventh grade, I'm in middle school, and I get the privilege of watching my mother graduate high school. She walked across the stage of our gymnasium of my middle school, and I watched her get her diploma. I didn't really realize the significance of why that was important. Obviously, it's 12 years old. High school was just a thing you do, not for her. I did, however, completely feel the pride, just that pride. I didn't know why it was pride. I just knew, oh my gosh, this is amazing. That was the first example of anything. And in order for her to do that, think about what she had to ask herself, the questions. She had to say, can I do this? What will it take? This was 12 years later. Remember, I know it was 12 years later because I was 12 years old. And I know all those things happened from the moment I was born. All those milestones were however old I was. And the adult school, the adult education program, had to also know that question. We have to ask people, are you ready to go back to school? Are you looking to go back to school? Those two conversations had to match, right? So next, the only time I actually had that anything fulfilled, the first time I had that anything fulfilled for myself was when I graduated college. So, well, actually it was when I left home on my 18th birthday, but that's another story. But when I actually graduated college, I came into my family. There were no books in the house, right? No, my parents didn't read for pleasure or education. The only books that were brought into the house were because my school books came home. The first book I ever read was a gift from my mother, and it was The Hobbit, my favorite book to this day. And so thinking about college, it's not for us, it's for them, whoever they are. It wasn't even on my understanding. Again, just like anything when I was a kid. But luckily, I had a boyfriend that I moved out with when I was 18, who is still my husband 40 years later, thank God. But his family, it was not an option to not go to college. It's just not an option. You're going to college. So I'm like, okay, can I do this? What will it take? So I got into community college, then went through a bunch of different majors, and I'm telling you, that was the most magical time of my short life. So many possibilities. So, oh my gosh, the world absolutely opened up. And it took me 7 years to graduate from UC Berkeley. But oh my gosh, that was my first anything. I figured out how I can do it. The biggest anything in my life so far, and hopefully it'll stay that way, was 2 days after my 38th birthday. Why am I doing this? I'm trying to help you set the foundation of conversations. It's not about what you say out there. It's about the foundation and why you're doing this. So bear with me. 2 days after my 38th birthday, I'm 8 months pregnant with my second son. And we're at my youngest son, or my oldest son is 3, so my little toddler, we're at my neighbor's house swimming. It's September in California. You can still swim in the pool. And so we're coming out her front door, and of course I've got this baby hotel, can't see my feet, and step out her front door and proceed to fall down the front steps and break both my legs. Yeah, ouch. So I get to sport 2 casts up to the knees. One pink, one blue, because we didn't know the sex of the baby. So I proceed to go through labor. My husband holds up one cast, a nurse holds up the other, because those things ain't fitting in no stirrups. Okay? So I go through labor, delivery, caring for my newborn, caring for my toddler, and hobbling around with a walker. You know, those things old ladies use with tennis balls in front. I didn't put the tennis balls on. So because one of my casts had a walking cast. The other one was my ankle was broken. I wasn't going to put any weight on that. And so for this hard charging, go-getting, figure it out woman, that was hell. To sit. We learned yesterday, sitting in silence, sitting where it's quiet, waiting. Screw that. I don't know that. Now I have to. I'm sitting. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? I have never, ever, before or since, been depressed, but I was then. What the heck am I going to do? How do I do that? I don't know that. I have no tools for this. I finally went, okay, if I can get through this with my sense of humor intact and a healthy baby, I can do anything. Right? That's it. That was so concrete. That was absolutely, I could wrap my brain around that. So 11 weeks later, my baby's over a month old. And the most elated feeling I've ever felt, seriously, was when I was able to walk out of the hospital on my own 2 feet, no walking boots, no nothing, carrying my baby at the same time. Because I couldn't do that. I meant I had to put him in the car seat, and I'm balancing on one foot, put him in the car seat, and drag him down, hop with the walker, drag the baby behind me. Hop with the walker, drag with, right? There's so many things. I couldn't take a shower, I couldn't take a bath, I had a sponge bath, I couldn't wash my hair. One of the most absolute beautiful experiences I've ever had was having my son and my husband take me out on the patio and wash my long hair. Because I couldn't wash my hair in the sink. I couldn't stand long enough. I didn't have a sink. I had very long hair. So all these little things, but I got through it with my sense of humor intact and a healthy baby. So that, I hope I don't have to deal with another situation. Who knows? If it comes, I can do anything. So why do we need to work on that? I mentioned you need to focus on this personal story before you can help your customers and your clients. And specifically, now that we can get into the business conversation, but I'll reference the other one a lot. But when we get into the business conversation, we are looking at a ladder. We're looking at a staircase in our business, right? Everything. So now let's shift gears to you're going to launch something. You want to create a lead magnet. You want to create a webinar, a challenge. You want to do something to communicate to your audience. Well, you go, okay, well, I'm going to try a little of this. Let's see, I'll put up a landing page and I'll try a little of this. So they've talked about this ClickFunnels thing and maybe I can do a funnel or an order form. Well, maybe I'll try and I'll do this lead magnet. And you know what? I think they need this lead magnet because, you know, when I was doing this, I think this is what I needed. So I'll try this. I think this lead magnet will work. And then, okay, well, what about, part of my program? So I'm a coaching, part of my coaching program. You know, there's this piece that, oh my gosh, if I had this when I was in their place, it would have been a godsend. So I'm going to put that in my program, right? So every little thing, we just try this, we try that, we try the lead magnet, we try the part of our program that we think they need. And I'll tell you, there's one thing that will get you a leap forward in that staircase, in that ladder, in that staircase. And it's asking questions. So yeah, you think the lead magnet's great. You think the part of your program is great because it would have helped you. Well, how do you know it's right for the person you're going to do? Ask a question. Ask. You have to ask questions. And does a landing page allow for anyone to have a conversation with what's on it? No, it doesn't. So we need to leap forward. And the first thing we need to do is ask a question. And so when we do, I swear to you, you will leap up here. And I'm going to take you through it. Exactly what I mean. Okay? So what do I mean by leap? It stands for something. So when you ask that question, what are you going to do? You're going to listen. We learned yesterday about listening too. Different types, right? Yeah, you're not going to do the first type where you're going to listen with an intention and with a purpose in mind of what you want to have happen, right? You're going to listen to what they say. Because if you're listening with your intention, you're just going to create the stuff that you thought was right in your head. Because that's where you are, right? So listen, and let's see if I can spell. Because you know, when you stand up, all the spelling goes out your feet. Just does. All right? So now, you listen. Then what do? You engage with their answers. And you get deeper into really what they need. Okay? So you listen. You what? Yes. All right. Then you adapt your program, what you think is right. You adapt it if you can. Obviously, there's crazies out there, and we're not going to adapt to everybody, right? So we're going to adapt what we have heard them say, what they've told us deeply they need. We are going to adapt that into our solution, our program, okay? And then, last but not least, now we can solve their pain. Now we have the solution. We can solve it. And we can turn their pain into bliss. Okay? That's the leap you're going to take. You're not going to try a little of this and a little of that, and then do the lead magnet you think it's going to work, and then do the part of the program that you think, oh yes, I would love that. No, you're going to leap, and you're going to ask a question, you're going to listen, you're engaged with what they say, you're going to adapt, you can solve their pain. Okay? Everybody with me? All right. Now, why do I know the power of this conversation? I tell you, honestly, just like Nick said yesterday, you cannot strategize. I guarantee you, every single person in this room could not strategize being here 5 years ago. Strategize to be right here. You couldn't plan that. Did you plan that 5 years ago? No. This is all the power of one conversation. Remember, one conversation away. One conversation. This is the power. Mike mentioned our meeting. So I didn't think he even remembered me when we first met. But anyway, he probably didn't. He remembers me now. Because he has no choice. But in 2018, I actually saw Mike speak at Social Media Marketing World. Okay? 2018. I saw Ray Edwards. I saw Mike. Sorry. Ray's great. Mike's amazing. Just going to say, sorry, Ray, you're amazing. But really, and he talked about copywriting, and I'm like blown away, eyes glued, taking screenshots. It was crazy. Couldn't even imagine going up and meeting him, right? But anyway, 2019, I'm invited to speak. So I get to actually meet Mike at an after. That's why I didn't think he'd remember me, because it was an after party, and he was drinking and having fun. But anyway, I got to meet him. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to meet him. Okay, so 2019 as well, I met another gentleman named Mark Haney. Mark Haney is an entrepreneur in the Sacramento region where I live. I live near Sacramento. And remember, Sacramento is a government town. Okay? Government town. So entrepreneurs are not celebrated. We don't even think we have any, but we do. Lots. And so Mark, he has a mission. I want to have the backyard advantage for entrepreneurs. The people you know in the community, that's a backyard advantage. The people I want to invite and have a barbecue in my backyard, I want those people's brains focused on what I'm doing and how we can help each other. Okay, Mark is an amazing, amazing person. So I meet him in 2019. We're just going to skip 2020, right? Everybody agree? We're just going to, act like it didn't happen, right? So then 2021, Mike publishes his book, You Are the Brand. I'm like, oh my God. It's an amazing book. I get one of his packages and ask him to come. One of his packages that included for him to come speak to my mastermind. And I got a bunch of books and I gave them all away. And oh my gosh, I get to get Mike Kim on a conversation with my mastermind and just ask him questions and dive into that brain. Oh my gosh. So now he knows who I am, right? I bought his book. I bought a package. He knows who I am. 2021 also, I was invited to be a mentor by Mark Haney. I was invited to be a mentor in his Founders Accelerator program. So he has an accelerator program with a decent fund behind it. $25 million, I think, is what's in there now. And so we bring in a cohort of founders and help them grow their business, invest in them and help them grow their business. And he asked me to be a mentor for marketing. Like, oh, wow. Amazing relationship. Now, 2022. GF means Growth Factory. Growth Factory is the name of that accelerator program. And so 2022, I'm at a meet and greet for the next cohort, to people who might want to come in and apply to be part of Growth Factory. And I meet this gentleman named Sam. Sam has an incredible product. And as we all do, I'm asking, okay, what's your product? What does it do? Who do you serve? All those things. And Sam proceeds to tell me, so his product is a wearable. Okay, so it's for athletes. And so it's a wearable tops and bottoms, and it has computer chips embedded into the wearable. And it, of course, is tied to a computer program where they can track movements. So if you're a baseball player, he's going to track your foundational movements and help you understand where you need to improve, where you might come down, or what, for golf, for baseball, football, all those things. And so he's so passionate. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I want to help young athletes. I'm like, so who do you serve? young athletes. I want kids who are in Little League, and I want to get them all, help them all the way up and help them get into the colleges they want to get into, just like I wanted to do, but I couldn't do. Totally passionate. I was buying into it. Yes, I get it. And then, anybody else kind of see wearables, children? Who's going to pay for this? 2 weeks later, after the parents invested and you got monthly recurring, what? How's that going to work? So I start out, I'm asking him questions. So what are you going to do when the kids grow out of it? What are you going to do when they quit? And, how's that going to work? And you could see him start, crap. You see him start thinking. One conversation. He realized things. He went, yeah, I get you. And we talked a little bit. I'm like, who could you serve that? And I'll show you the 3 points of who you serve and what you have to ask yourself. And so he did that. He went back and he did the work. He applied to Growth Factory. He got in. His company is doing incredible. So now, this was in March 2020. April 2020, we're in Denver. I meet Lauren Johnson. I didn't meet her. She was on stage. Mike introduced her and said, she's from Folsom, California. I'm like, oh, what? That's 5 miles from my house. I'm like, 5 miles away. She said, did I hear Folsom? I've never heard anybody speaking on stage from Folsom. So afterwards, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're in Folsom. I'm in El Dorado Hills. We gotta get coffee. Yes, she's so sweet. She's amazing. Yeah, that'll be great. We get back. We have coffee. We chat. We get a deep conversation. We spend like 2 hours at the coffee shop just chatting about all kinds of things. And I'm like, you know what? Mark Haney is the sports guy, right? Like, you just need to meet Mark. You need to come in and to Growth Factory. Just come to one of the next events. I know what you're doing is going to impact amazing people. Whether you mentor, whether you volunteer, just come and meet people. So we were gonna have another event, like 2-3 weeks later. I'm like, let me get you an invitation. Would you like to come? Oh yes, definitely. So she comes to the Growth Factory event. Sam has his avatar figured out. He is going to serve colleges and universities. Do they have money? Are they going to quit? No. He got that figured out from that one conversation we had. I introduced him to Lauren, who was a mindset coach for the New York Yankees. And is there a pathway from colleges into the New York Yankees, possibly? There's a whole pathway, right? Lauren introduces Sam to the New York Yankees. He now has a multi-million-dollar contract, delivering in December. Right? One conversation. But I couldn't have strategized this, all these meetings, to be in Denver, meeting Lauren, to introduce. No, I didn't plan that. But I'm open to one conversation at a time. Right? Do you believe me now? That one conversation can help you leap forward in your life and your business, right? All right. That's the power of that conversation. So now we're going to talk about those 3 things. If you don't have clarity on these 3 things in the beginning, like I helped Sam get clarity, you won't be able to make that leap. So who do you work with that lights you up? I've had many conversations with people, and those are the things we ask. What lights you up? Who do you want? Because how many of us have more than one avatar? Right? Yeah. We serve everybody. No, everybody in this room knows we don't serve everybody, right? But even get deeper. Who lights you up that you work with? Who just feeds your soul that you know that when you make an impact in their life, it's going to be incredible. Now, can you solve their pain? Right? Did you go through that LEAP formula? Listening, adapting, all that, right? And can they pay you? Right? How many of us have tried to sell to people who really can't pay us? No, they have no money. Yeah. So that's clarity. If you start there, you're good. Okay? Now let's see here. We talked about landing pages. We talked about lead magnets. We talked about websites. We can look at websites. We can look at podcasts. We can look at all the ways that we communicate right now online. Those are all speeches. Those are all me just standing up here speeching. We're speaking to the choir, right? I'm just telling everybody how amazing I am and how amazing the thing I have is for you. No, those are not conversations. So how do we turn the speech into a conversation? That's the key. You don't have to go out and start something new. You've got things already that you can turn into a conversation. And yes, part of that conversation is automation. Don't be intimidated. It's okay. Much of this stuff you've done. Many of you have heard of Typeform, right? It's a conversation because you're asking a question, they're answering, they're giving you feedback, right? That's all we're talking about. That's the simplest form of a conversation. I can get very technical and I will in a minute, but that's the simplest form of a conversation. So what I'm going to show you really quickly, I have no idea how I'm doing on time, but that's all right, is I'm going to use Mike as an example. He has a lead magnet that he's been advertising all over the place, the About Me page. Anybody seen it? Yeah. All right. So we're going to take a look at that. And we're going to look at that. Oh, and hopefully I'll be able to bring it up. Oh, nope. So we're going to look at that page and I'm going to show you how to turn that into a conversation. There we go. All right. 5-step formula. Everybody see this? Here's a section. Look at all this is a speech. Am I right? Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Tell me, right? All those things are speeches. All right. So how do we turn those speeches in that page into a conversation? Well, we need to switch them into questions. I'm going to read you. I've already done it. So let's change this into a question. So instead of the top, the description, right? The 5-step formula to write your About Me page. Get a copy, right? I might start this, if I'm going to put this into an automation, I might start it with, does your About Me page pass the 5-point challenge to serve your website visitors? It's a question. Does it pass the 5-point challenge? I don't know. Does it? I want to find out, right? So now I'm going to look at these 5 sections and I'm going to say, okay, instead of tell me what your business is about, I'm going to say, here's the first question. It's not going to be on this page. It's going to be in an automation. It's going to be in a Typeform, or it's going to be in a chat bot, or it's going to be, I've got all the options, most of the options, but let me just take you through it because you can do this with your stuff. So does it highlight the topics you address and the problems you solve for your readers? Yes or no? That's that first one. That's number 1. Does it highlight the topics you address and the problems you solve for your readers? Number 2, instead of tell me when to expect content, does it help your readers anticipate your future updates by providing opportunities to engage with your content? I'm just going to turn it into a question. Yes or no, right? Instead of a speech. Number 3, tell me how to subscribe, right? Turn that into a question. Does your About Me page provide a free resource to allow readers to connect with your expertise by subscribing to your email list? Yes or no, right? And number 5, instead of tell me a story but not too long, does your About Me page, oh, sorry, I skipped 4. Skip 4 was, does your About Me page make a strong first impression by pointing your readers to your best content first? So now number 5, does your About Me page share a shortened version of your personal story so readers can get to know you better? Yes or no? Simple. This is not rocket science. My brain is no different than anybody else's, I promise. Mm-hmm. It's just turning that into a conversation, asking the question rather than speech. Do this. This is what you do. This is a conversation. And you have to, does anybody, when you walk up to somebody and you're starting a conversation, do you obviously start with, hi, I'm Mary, and I live in Northern California, and I this, and I that. That's not a conversation. We all started with a question. No different. You do this naturally. Don't worry. Okay? Does that make sense? Do you see the simple example of the difference between a landing page, which is a speech, and a conversation? And this is just the beginning of the conversation, right? We're not going to take somebody through a bot unless you're a low ticket item, low ticket price point, and you're, a Shopify store or whatever. You're not going to take somebody in an automated conversation to a purchase. We all have high ticket stuff. A human's going to have to take over. This is just the beginning. This is just to take all those. Eugene was talking yesterday when the coaches got together, and he's like, you start with your coaching one-on-one, and then you realize everybody's asking you the same things. And then you go to the group program and you do it in a group. Well, this is just the same concept. We do it one to many because we know what they're going to ask because we've asked them the question and we've listened, right? You get it. Coming full circle. All right. So that's how we have those conversations. Okay? They're speeches. They're not conversations. Now, how can you do that? What are some of the programs and the ways that you can do that? I call this Face Tweet. It's like you're on Twitter, old school Twitter, 140 characters. I look at 160 characters. Each of your messages, your questions that you say should be about 160 characters. Short. You're not going to do return and have another 3 sentences. I hate texts like that. It's like texting. You're going to do it. I love texting, send, message, send. I don't want to have to scroll back up to the top and start reading your email. That's for email. Okay, you get me? So these are the programs you can use. Tidio is a program on your website. Okay, that's an actual bot that you can have live on your website and do these conversations on your website. ManyChat is for Facebook, Instagram. You can actually automate your DMs. So Mike was talking about some people, actually the younger generation, sell in their DMs. This helps you automate that so that you don't have to hire an army of people to sit there and respond to your DMs. You can automate it. Typeform, you know about. Relatable. My mind was blown with what I can do with Relatable. Video. You can have or audio, audiobook, podcast. You can actually put questions in an audio file and people can speak their answers. And you collect that data. So remember when we said, all Mike's questions, we had yes or no answers, right? If everybody answers yes, they don't need his about me stuff. They answered yes to all do you have this? They answered yes. They don't need his about me. But because we have gathered his data, now we can offer them something else. But in this form, in the landing page form, we can't do that. It's like you either take this or bye-bye. Does that make sense? We can interact. We can look at what they need next. If they answer no to any of those, we're going to give them the 5-step formula. If they answer yes to all of them, they need something else. And we got something else. Okay? Relatable, I'm telling you, this technology is amazingly crazy. If you're a coach, if you have video programs, if you have a podcast and you want people to interact with it, you want to collect data. Mike was talking about yesterday, his people who buy his book, they're not his customers, they're Amazon's customers, unless they buy from his website. But even then, they just buy the book and then he's got to figure out where to put them in his email automation. If you have an Audible in your audio file of your audiobook, you can actually interact with them. They opt in to get that. Now you have their name, their email address, their phone number. Now you know what they answer. And you can direct them based on their answer to the appropriate next step and then the appropriate next product. Do you see how this is all a conversation? You're responding. You're not just speaking. You're not just up here doing a speech. Okay? And then mobile wallet. Okay. Oh my gosh. So, and I'll talk about that in just a sec. How do we do this? I talked about face tweet. 60% question, 40% statements. If you're in a high, knowledge-based product. 60% question, 40% statement, or 70-30 for the rest of us. 70% questions, 30% statements. 160 characters, concise, visual, interactive, and please don't forget to be a human. Right? So that's how. And then why? Here's why. Email response rate, less than 20% open their email list for the standard. But even with registering for things, 30% is email. Conversational marketing, I can get mobile wallet, which is a push notification on your phone. I don't need an app. It automatically pushes on the phone to say, hey, show up for the webinar. I'm going live now. 75% of the people who have that mobile wallet click through to the webinar. This is why. Okay? I know every single one of you has a conversation, has anything. Your customers do too. Your prospects do too. It is your job. It is your duty to match that anything in a conversation with their anything. Are you committing to that for me? Yes. This is me. That scan code has my contact information. It also has an example for you. If you go there, there's one of the buttons you can click that will take you through one of my automations to show you exactly the power of one conversation. This is how I do lead generation. One conversation. You're not going to have to personally talk to every person like I did with Sam, right? You can't do that. but you can automate that initial outreach. Do I have your commitment to have conversations now?
Yes.
Thank you.